Good morning. I want to start by taking us back to 2006. I was in the 6th year of my teaching career, and I had spent most of it frustrated and unhappy. Students continued to come to my classroom, academically below grade level, behaviorally challenged, and increasingly disengaged. It seemed obvious to me that parents weren't invested in their education, and administration appeared to be, at best, unsupportive, at worst, ignorant to what was going on within their own walls. By the middle of the year, enough was enough. I scheduled a meeting with our superintendent. I can't do this anymore, I told him. I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I don't seem to be making a difference. I fully expected him to tell me that letting me out of my contract in the middle of a school year was not an option. That finding someone to replace me in the middle of a school year was not an option. That leaving my students hanging in the balance was simply not an option. He stood, he walked around his desk, he pulled up a chair and he sat next to me. And then measuring his words, he calmly said that if I wasn't happy, I wasn't fully giving my students what they deserved, and that he wouldn't keep anyone from doing what made them happy. And then he said that he understood if my mind was made up, but that he saw leadership qualities in me, and he believed in my potential as an educator. He believed in my potential as an educator. It didn't happen overnight. Teaching didn't magically become easier, but what I had been seeing as obstacles began to look like welcome challenges. And those parents and administrators who seemed just as frustrated and disengaged as I had become began to look like they were searching for the same answers. I look back at the educator I was more than a decade ago, and I see a teacher who saw students as unmotivated when what they needed was someone to teach them different strategies. A teacher who thought that students chose to misbehave when what they needed was someone to teach them coping skills. A teacher who relied on the influence of power and didn't fully realize the transforming power of influence. By some estimates, we have 200,000 educators leaving every year for reasons other than retirement. 10% of early career teachers leaving within the first 3 years. And among our students, our graduation rates aren't where we want them to be. How do we influence those around us the way that Mr. Arns influenced me and changed the path of a career? It is possible. And I want to share some strategies that we can put into place to significantly impact our circles of influence. We need to get out of our offices, into classrooms, into the hallway, into the cafeteria, onto the buses. Are there going to be things that get pushed aside or put on hold while we're out? Absolutely. But our staff and our students need to know that we're working right alongside of them, especially during the harder seasons. We can't involve staff in every decision that's made, but we're making big decisions that directly impact others. And so whenever we can bring them into the discussion, keep them in the loop, it's a good thing. Recovery is more important than perfection. And if we are going to embrace an environment that looks to risk-taking as a positive, we need to be models of resiliency. And our staff need to know that it's more important that we get our decisions right than that any one person is right. We don't always have all the answers, and it's okay to admit that. Oftentimes I'll have a new family come visit the school, and the parent will look to their child and say, "You should never need to go to their office." We need to change that mentality. The principal's office should be a place where families, staff, students feel safe to share ideas, to share frustrations, to share anxieties. Are there times when we have to manage behaviors? Absolutely. Locations have memories, and so when we manage behaviors, we might do that sitting behind the power of our desk. But when we're going to counsel or we're going to mentor others, get out from behind the desk and go sit next to them. Every school year has its seasons, and we're not talking about holidays. We're talking about homecoming, Fridays, full moons, spring break. These are all seasons. And they bring energy, and they bring different behaviors, sometimes strange behaviors in an elementary school. So we can plan for these times, we can predict how it's going to impact behavior, and then we can react. Humans are messy. It doesn't matter if we're talking about big humans or we're talking about little humans. We all have a story, and we bring that with us to school. And when things are new, or they're emotional, or they're difficult, our lives feel even messier. So stay in tune to what's going on in the lives of those around us, so that we can help support them through those new emotional or difficult times. Our parents are not keeping their best kids at home. And kids are not getting up in the morning and thinking, I can't wait to make so-and-so's life miserable. Our teachers are doing the best they can with the resources they have at their disposal. Remember that when things don't go their way, or someone makes what we think is a mistake. Before we jump to a conclusion, let's assume positive intent. We see things every day that if we don't laugh at them, they make us crazy. Don't forget to have fun. Enjoy the kids. Enjoy the craziness that goes into every single day of being a school leader. Celebrate even the smallest of victories. Recognizing staff and students with maybe it's a post on social media, or it's an email, or it's a handwritten note. I want to finish up by sharing an impactful strategy to influence others. I look forward to 45 minutes each week where I sit down with the class lists from each homeroom. One student from each class and at least one staff member gets a handwritten note. People say that doing things for others is a selfish act because it makes us feel good. And I'll tell you what, when you get a note back from a first-year teacher who thanks you for the impact you had on them and says they're ready to tackle next year, or another early career teacher who says you've influenced them and their career, or someone like Morgan who just thanks you for saying, how are you doing, when you see them in the hallway, or Molly who says that a lot of people can say you influence them, but you give me dad advice. See, here's what we need to do. As we think about how we influence others, we need to fall back in love with the power of influence. Thank you.